Good evening, everybody in the Move, Think, Smile. All of you guys are following us, and everybody in the fatigue-free professional group. And, something has happened. We kind of touched on this a few days ago when we made an impromptu appearance on Saturday evening, and we decided to come back here because, well, the question we're asking ourselves is, has burnout gone viral? And I know that kind of sounds strange, but every time I open up my browser or I turn on the news, I'm seeing more and more about burnout. And I just read this article from ABC, right, pinpointing some, reporters out there in the world, and even BuzzFeed is doing some stuff right now and talking about this whole thing about burnout. And the reason we're talking about this right now is if you didn't catch our show on Saturday, that is the World Health Organization last week just published its International Disease Control Guide, IDC number 11, and it took burnout from DEFCON 1, from being a thing, right, to DEFCON 2, to being an occupational phenomenon. And this is really sparking the interest of a lot of people in the media, as well as a lot of people in human resource companies, a lot of managers, a lot of team leaders, a lot of business owners. And so the question we ask ourselves, why has it taken so long for burnout to go viral? Because in our experience, it's something that we've been dealing with for a really long time. And today with me, I've got the founding partner of Move, Think, Smile, Elia Fosheron, beautiful as ever. And I'm Adam Von Inns. And Elia, let's dive into this. What's going on with the whole burnout thing?
Yeah. I'm excited just because more conversation is being had. And it's really interesting. I've been looking at a lot of, people posting about it and talking about it on Facebook. A lot of people kind of arguing and making points about what it, how to define it and what it really means and how to fix it and all of this stuff. And, I think, again, the most important thing to come back to, though, is to just, burnout, we know from the World Health Organization, they estimate 75% of U.S., working professionals are struggling with this. And how we want to define it or the things we want to say about it, really, is that really important? Or is the people that just are suffering, that are just feeling physically drained, like their batteries are dead, like they're in despair, like, they have cynicism, they feel like they're not connected in any way, they're just slogging through their days. And, now physical symptoms are starting to show up: anxiety, depression, weight gain. And so it's like, let's get back to the core of what's most important, which is, how do we offer help and care for the people that are experiencing this?
Right. And here's what I find absolutely, kind of messed up. In the United States, our medical providers don't necessarily follow the World Health Organization. They follow another set of guidelines, and it's called the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM number 5. And in that manual, burnout is not listed as a diagnosis. Now, it might be now, or maybe they're going to revise it. But burnout really, in America, we've got a lot of firsts. We're the first people to put a man on the moon. At least I think so. We're first people to get a plane up in the air. We got the car going on. A lot of firsts happen in America. A lot of really cool things. We're a very progressive country. We also have a lot of firsts when it comes to disease. And a lot of those diseases are being traced back to, burnout. And what happens is people don't fix the burnout, and then they end up in life having really bad stuff happen, become diabetic, heart disease, dementia, really, really bad things happen. And the reason that this is such a big deal to us guys is because fatigue is at the root cause of all this stuff. And it's the ability to handle problems and challenges as they come up. And to let you guys know, tomorrow, we're actually going to do an official announced live, and you'll see a post about that later, basically how to turn problems into opportunities and the 3 steps that we teach our clients on how to do that. And that's one you're really going to want to pay attention to. That's going to be a really important show. But right now it's about, the burnout. I mean, I remember last year, the BuzzFeed reporter, Ann Peterson, had written in her thing about, how she was rocking in some parts of her life, but other parts of her life, she was just paralyzed.
Yep.
Like she could function in some areas, but she couldn't function in all of them. And basically, guys, that's like having a V8 engine, right? And only like 3 cylinders working.
Yes. And that's a really great description of what fatigue and burnout feel like. Is just that, like, things are not clicking, they're not working, and you keep wondering why and what's going on, but you're so busy, right?
Right.
You don't take the time.
And so one of the things that, she wrote, and I found this really interesting, so and we've seen this happen over and over again with our clients, is, it's like you will put something on your weekly to-do list and then it rolls over one week to the next. And next thing you know, it's haunting you for months, and as, Ann Peterson talks about it, she calls it errand paralysis.
Yeah.
Right. And it's always there. And every time you see it, you just like, oh, there's a little bit of a freak out going on. And and I like how she puts it. She puts it, they are seemingly high effort, low reward tasks. And they just paralyze her. High effort, low reward. And they would just paralyze her. And that's kind of like, that's definitely a sign of burnout. We're going to get into a quick diagnostic in a second, but Ellie, can you go over some of the symptoms, of what burnout can include?
Yeah. Real quick, I just have to say why I kind of started laughing when you were just talking, which was, low or high effort, low kind of reward. And I'm thinking too much adulting, right? Too much adulting, and that, like, it's like nothing on our to-do list. There's no fun on there. Right. And so, when you talk about what defines burnout, I mean, to me, a lot in the core sense of it is the lack of fun, right? Yep. You work too much, and basically you drive your physical and mental health into the ground. And what that looks like on a daily basis is, waking up completely exhausted, even though, you slept. Or maybe you slept a little bit with some 2 a.m. anxiety, but you've got some sleep and you're like, why am I so exhausted? You start seeing things like weight gain or weight loss. You start, suffering from symptoms of anxiety, like the chest pains or the symptoms of panic attacks. You start feeling some depression coming on, some despair, some cynicism. Your blood pressure starts going through the roof. It's amazing because the symptoms can be quite varied because of people's genetics and, kind of where their weak link is in their bodies. But again, it all comes from the same source, which is, again, just too much pressure, too much expenditure of energy, and not enough recharging.
Yes. And, and what's interesting is Elliot talked about insomnia, and, there's chronic fatigue, difficulty concentrating, focus, apathy, irritability, getting sick more often. What a lot of people will attribute that to is, like, I didn't sleep well last night. It's like, okay, cool. Well, why didn't you sleep well? And they have no idea. They have no idea why they're not getting the deep quality sleep that they need. They have no idea, what's really causing the fatigue, what's really causing the exhaustion. And it starts with being tired. Yeah. And then it leads to exhaustion, and it leads to burnout syndrome. And guys, just, syndrome means just it's a mix of stuff. And I think the reason why burnout is going viral now, like it's all over the media, it's all over the news, is because of the World Health Organization. But the reason the World Health Organization can't really get it past DEFCON 2, right? They can only call it an occupational phenomenon, is because it is a mix of different stuff and it's different for everybody. And I know that when we went through burnout, Elia literally had exhaustion. Couldn't carry a cup of water from the kitchen to the couch. She had the shakes. She had severe weight loss. She had severe anxiety.
Yep.
And she was getting tested for scary stuff like Parkinson's and MS and all kinds of neurological disorders. And they could not find anything wrong with her. Me, on the other hand, I was dealing with fatigue. I wasn't exhausted, but I was dealing with fatigue. I had a really hard time focusing. I had a really hard time getting just simple tasks and simple projects done. What should take me an hour would take 4 or more, sometimes days or more. If a small problem would arise, I would sit there and freak out on it and dwell on it forever, and it would just take me down.
Yeah.
And it was really, and I had weight gain. Ellie had a bunch of weight loss. I had a bunch of weight gain. And I was just, my food choices were distorted. My circadian rhythm was off. Of course, I was not sleeping well at all. I was getting sleep, but I was not sleeping well. That's for sure. And
you really have to look, a lot of times too, because the people that experience this are just working, the insane amount of hours that are being put in, and you've gotten used to it. So you don't think it's that big of a deal. It's like, oh yeah, had a break. I only worked 60 hours instead of 80 or 90 hours this week. You think like that's not a big deal to be working that much, or basically working every day of the week and never having, time that is just downtime or time to recharge, or any free time you do have is, of course, checking off all the things on that to-do list to keep your life moving forward, like laundry and cleaning the house and doing this and doing that. And again, just really realizing that there is no space for you to just be human.
Right.
Right.
And the first sign that you're headed towards burnout is fatigue.
Yep.
And that's why we focus specifically on fatigue. Now, if you're further down that spiral and you are in full on burnout, we tackle that too. But here's how to know. There's 4 questions you can ask. And the first one is, how often are you tired and lacking energy to go to work in the morning? How often are you tired and lacking energy to go to work in the morning? And basically, yeah. And basically, if you're like, yeah, that happens kind of often or a couple times a week, that is the first sign of fatigue. And if you don't fix that, it will lead to chronic fatigue, which is a deep, deep state of fatigue. Some people might tell you have adrenal fatigue. That's a whole different topic. We can talk about it another time.
Yeah.
Adrenal fatigue is not your problem. I can tell you that right now. And it leads to burnout. And so that fatigue is actually the root cause, which we've been able to prove through our medical research and scientific research. So conventional medicine and conventional research does have some good things that they do. And the first thing is they've determined that anxiety and depression are a result of fatigue.
Yeah. And one of the things that just breaks my heart that I hear hear our clients say, but I also know very personally as well, is like that feeling when you wake up. There's like a few seconds in the morning when you wake up and it's like, you're just not happy you woke up.
Yeah.
Like you literally, like, if I don't wake up tomorrow morning, I would be okay with that. And that is and it's not because you don't like your life, and it's not because you don't like the people that are in it. It's just because you're so damn tired that you're just like, I don't have anything else,
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's question number 1. How often are you tired and lacking energy to go to work in the morning? And a lot of our clients, a lot of people that we talk to on the phone actually say, I'm more tired when I wake up in the morning than when I went to bed.
Yeah.
Number 2, how often do you feel physically drained, like your batteries are dead? Yeah. Now, this typically happens at the end of the day. A lot of times we'll talk to people. It's like, okay, I get up, I make it to work, I do what I got to do. I did okay. I made it through the day. I had my 3 venti lattes to make that happen. Got enough sugar and caffeine going. But I come home, it'll either be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 o'clock, depending, what's going on with your work schedule, right? And like, I'm done. I'm just done. I've got no juice left. The batteries are dead, but I've got to clean my house, or I've got to do my bills, or I just want to spend time with the kids, or I'm trying to hang out with my significant other or my husband or my wife. So question number 2 is, how often do you physically feel drained, like your batteries are dead?
One thing that I think is a big key for this is you may come home feeling completely overstimulated and like you're like, I just need to stare at a blank wall, stare at the ceiling fan, like my whole body feels like it's vibrating, right? Or people come home and they're like, I just want Netflix to watch me, right? I just want to sit there and just live in another life.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to just sit on the couch and count the rotations of your ceiling fan, or you want, Netflix or Prime or any of those other ones, or Hulu, just to watch you all the time, that's an indication. But, how often do you feel physically drained, like your batteries are dead? And if you answer, well, if you can remember at least 1 or 2 times in the past couple of weeks, then you got to fix that. Number 3, how often is your thinking process sluggish or your concentration impaired? And I'm going to bet almost everybody in this group can attest to this. Like, I feel that a good bit. That is the first sign of fatigue. It's not a later sign of fatigue. It's the first sign of fatigue. And if you don't start practicing the right self-care, right? And this is more than just taking an hour off to go to Planet Fitness and get on the treadmill for 30 minutes. That's not going to fix this. Okay. You've got to actually get in there and do the right self-care. You've got to learn how to tackle the problems as they come up instead of dwelling on them and worrying about them, right? You've got to be able to conquer those obstacles, whether it be with your work life, your family life, your dating life, whatever it is. And that's what we're going to talk about in tomorrow's live. So make sure you guys pay attention to the schedule for that. And then the fourth question is, how often do you feel emotionally detached from coworkers or customers and unable to be sensitive to their needs? How often do you feel emotionally detached from coworkers or customers and are unable to be sensitive to their needs?
Yeah, so this is another big one too, where you just feel like you don't have the same gusto that you had when you started. I mean, certainly everybody starts a new project or a new job or a new this, you kind of have a lot of gusto. But again, like if you feel like it's so distant, you can't touch it, like you just can't get back there. You don't even know how, right? Sometimes people are like, oh, I'm feeling a little off. I just need to take the weekend off. And then they're bouncing back, right? Not with burnout. Like burnout, you feel like a weekend off doesn't fix it. A week-long vacation doesn't fix it. It's like you need time.
Yeah.
You need a lot of time.
So, but that emotional detachment from your colleagues and customers is big. Cause I can remember when we were going through burnout and we had our own businesses. We had two of them going on, one in a really big retail and one retail and service and another one in a big manufacturing way. I had no attachment, like none. Like I came home with no attachment and I got up in the morning, just no emotional attachment, emotionally detached. And I would talk to customers. I would talk to our sales guys. I would talk to our employees. I would talk to, and I was just completely detached. And, my performance was just crap. Was completely losing my edge. And of course, what ended up happening is we lost both of those businesses. That's what happened. We lost our careers and it was a long uphill battle to get out of there.
Yeah.
And so guys, if any of that sounds like you, we don't want to take too long this evening, just as kind of an impromptu. We do want to invite you to come over to movethinksmile.com/talk to book a free strategy call with us, to chat with us about the fatigue or the exhaustion or the burnout symptoms that you might be experiencing. And, it's about 45 minutes long or so. We'll get crystal clear on exactly what is going on in your life, exactly what's causing the fatigue and the exhaustion. I mean, crystal clear. It's going to be a refreshing breath of air for you. And then we're going to, then we're going to take a look at, exactly where you want to go and, and the steps on how you can get there. And so guys, please pay attention. We'll be back here live tomorrow on the page and in the group. And, in the meantime, if you'd like to chat, come on over to movethinksmile.com/talk, book a call with us and, we'll chat soon. Elliot, got anything else?
No, that's it. Just, check us out tomorrow. We're going to be talking about, really tackling those obstacles and challenges and being able to plow forward with energy.
Yeah. How to turn problems into opportunities. People talk about it all the time. They talk about it all the time. It's like, just turn a problem into an opportunity. You're like, okay, cool. And then you get to the problem.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. You get to the problem. You're like, I did not turn that into an opportunity as fast as I needed to, or I haven't turned it into an opportunity at all. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, guys. We'll see you then.